War is hell. It reaches every hand, from the soldier in the trench to the nurse at his side, from the engineer forging weapons to the families left behind. These are their stories. This is World War I Stories, Tales Beyond the Trenches. Today's episode, The Working Blur. The November cold whipped through his thinning hair, and the light wetness of the tears on his face only magnified the feeling. His sleeves, which had been rolled up throughout the day, were now caked with dried blood. It did not matter how often he changed gowns in the surgery. His everyday clothes often paid the price for his profession. It was a half-mile walk from the triage tents to the modest prefabricated wooden shack that acted as his quarters. They had been used mostly for officers, but the British Army had recently begun erecting them for surgeons as well. Someone had finally realized that the comfort and the rest of the frontline surgeons mattered just as much. His thoughts drifted back over the past 13 hours. There had been an assault nearby as the fighting along the River Somme dragged into its 5th month. 6 men had appeared on his table. He had often worked on 6 to 8 men in a day. He strived to take care of the wounded with speed and quality day after day, but he had never had more than 1 man die on his table. Today, he had sent 4 to their maker. Not by his hands. He had that consolation, but he could not save them, and he did try. Alistair McRae had been a decorated surgeon in Edinburgh, Scotland when the war broke out. Now he was an accomplished battlefield surgeon with the Royal Army Medical Corps, but he did not feel accomplished on this day. Finally, he approached his small wooden hut. Inside, he had a cot and a small wood stove, the pipe rising through the roof to release the smoke into the French skies. He was exhausted, both physically and mentally. He kept a small oil lamp just outside the hut's door. He lit it and made his way inside. Setting the lamp on the wood stove, he lit the kindling he had placed there before leaving for his duties. He always found he had more energy and more light to prepare his stove before duty than after. He removed his blood-stained shirt and threw it on the fire. He did this nightly after making a deal with the quartermaster for extra shirts. He received an allotment each week. He wanted every day to start clean, and to him, that started with his shirt. His pants he replaced weekly. They did not take as much abuse as the shirts. The fire slowly started to warm the hut. He turned to his cot ready to rest. Would he sleep immediately? Probably not. He had 4 boys on his mind this night, but he would try to get as much rest as he could before the day started all over again. He hated war, but he loved the boys fighting, and caring for them was something he could do even when exhausted. He moved the lantern to his side table, sat on the cot, lifted his feet, and turned to lie down. His head hit the pillow, but he felt something beneath it. What was that? He sat up again and looked. There was an envelope. A letter. He sat up and examined the envelope in the glow of the lantern. The writing was familiar. Moira, he said to himself, surprised to see a letter from his daughter. Moira had only been 16 when he left almost 2 years ago at the outbreak of the war. She had been learning to be a nurse in a local school. He felt a wave of excitement as he opened the letter, an excitement that dissipated just as quickly as it came. Dear Father, I am writing this letter on July 17th of 1916, and I do not know when or even if it will reach you. Mother became ill a month ago. A fever that sapped her of everything. She could not get out of bed, eat, or drink for what felt like weeks. It did seem like she would get better, but last week she took a turn. The fever worsened. She fell into a coma. She passed away yesterday at about 5 in the evening. I know that this will come as a shock to you. I know you would have wanted to be there by her side in her final moments. She could not write while she was sick and begged me not to tell you. She always felt that saving lives was your calling, and it was beyond her to remove you from that for any reason. Before Mother got sick, I graduated from nursing school. I volunteered for the nursing corps through the Scottish Women's Hospitals. They accepted me at once. When Mother got sick, I postponed my enlistment to care for her. This morning, I spoke with them at their Edinburgh offices, and I leave in less than a week. This gives me a few days to wrap things up here and bury Mother. I'm not sure where I'll be sent. I just know that I'll be assisting doctors such as yourself in the saving of the men who have chosen to fight for the king. I know my words will mean little right now, but please know that you were her final thought, her only true love, and she slept with your picture until the day she died. I love you too, and cannot wait to be reunited at home when this war is over. Love always, Moira. He read the letter 6 more times before his eyes got too cloudy from the tears. He dropped the letter onto the dirt floor of the hut, lay back down, and cried. It had been a week since he received the letter. He had taken a few days' leave to clear his head after the news. He did not go home. There was not time for that. Instead, he took long walks in the nearby forest, sat by a small creek, or just lay in bed thinking of Maggie, his now late wife. They had met and married young. She had only been 16 and he 17. Moira had come along 3 years later. She had supported his dream of becoming a surgeon, and it had come true. She had raised Moira, took care of the home, and made sure he was taken care of. In his mind, she was the perfect wife. Today, however, it was business as usual. Jamie, another doctor, though not a surgeon, walked with him through the recovery ward tent, surveying the patients. The room was quiet except for the occasional groan. Most of the patients were sedated after their operations, and as a result, they either slept or felt nothing. Jamie was going over a case with Alistair. I know that you said that the patient in bed 2 didn't need his leg amputated, but I feel you're wrong. I do not remember having that conversation. When was this? Alistair asked. Yesterday, while you were removing the shrapnel from the man in bed 6, Jamie returned. Alistair looked towards bed 6. He did not recognize the man, but he remembered the procedure. Ah, yes. He had the shrapnel near his frontal lobe, just above his eye. Right, we talked then. Alistair stopped. Jamie, we've talked about this. When I'm in surgery, I am focused. Jamie interrupted. In the blur of work, yes. I don't remember words, faces, names, anything when I'm in the blur, Alistair reminded him. So please, fill me in. Well, I wanted his leg amputated yesterday. All of the other surgeons were busy. We talked, you looked at his leg briefly and decided that amputation was not necessary. I'm telling you now that it is. That makes sense. I don't always think clearly when my mind is focused on one patient. Where exactly is the infection spread to? He asked. It's just below his knee. I'm afraid if we do not do this soon, the infection will enter the bloodstream, and he'll most surely die. Jamie was nearly pleading now. You're the doctor. Get him ready. We'll do it now. Get me 3 nurses and some straps and plenty of morphine. I'll meet you in the surgery in 10 minutes. Thank you. We'll get him ready. Before Jamie could act, there was a commotion outside the tent, and they were joined by an out-of-breath nurse, Janice. Janice, what's wrong? Asked Jamie. Janice bent over, Hands on her knees, she lifted her hand to motion for them to hold a moment as she caught her breath. They waited patiently, about 30 seconds. She began. It's ambulance train 27. Shelled near a railhead close to Amiens. The wounded are being brought here. We need all of the surgeons and doctors at the ready. An ambulance train was just as it sounded. A mobile hospital in rail cars that was utilized to transport not only the wounded, but also staff to and from the frontline areas. Ambulance train number 27 just happened to be the train that serviced Allister's currently assigned Casualty Clearing Station, or CCS. What's the estimate? How many and when will they arrive? Allister asked. About 20 minutes, she replied. We have 7 surgeons here. We may need more. Send the word out to other CCSs and see if we can't get more, Jamie responded. Janice made her way to the door. Sure thing, I'll send a runner. Allister quickly departed for the surgery to prepare for the blur. Chaos soon erupted all around him. Yells and screams, the smell of blood, the sound of boots on dirt as stretcher bearers transported the injured into the surgery from the triage tent where they had been initially diagnosed by the doctors. The first person was placed on his table. Orderlies explained the injuries. Shrapnel to the abdomen that needed to be extracted. Lacerations to the chest that needed to be stitched. He got to work. He did not notice the noise around him anymore. He could only hear the nurse's responses to his requests and his own orders. He worked quickly, removing the shrapnel. He was in the blur. When completed, he called for the orderlies to take the patient to recovery. Another came, one that he could not help. They were already gone. Why would you bring me a dead man? He yelled. He was temporarily removed from the blur. For the first time, he actually saw and heard the chaos all around him. Every surgery table was occupied. He noticed surgeons he did not know. They must have come from other CCS areas. Orderlies removed the person, and in their place was another. This one had a pole sticking from the abdomen. It entered her right side and angled up into her torso. How the hell was this person brought in this late? They should have been seen first, he yelled. An orderly responded. She was pinned to the carriage, sir. They had to pry her out. She saved a captain, though, and the orderly walked away briskly. He surveyed the damage. Stabilize. Do not let it shift. If it shifts, they die. Focus. Just the wound. Nothing else, he said aloud, mostly to himself. He addressed the nurses that had been assisting him. Hold the pole steady. His voice was flat, urgent. Cut the rest of the uniform away. I need this clear. Scissors clicked. Cloth fell aside. The smell of burned fabric and blood flooded upward. Entry point is high. Too much bleeding. If the pole moved on transport, there will be tearing. Look for it. Prepare for it, he thought to himself. Lantern, closer, he ordered. Here. No, higher. Keep it there. Hands adjusted the flame. Shadows twitched across the patient's ribs. He placed a palm against the metal to stop the slightest rocking. Do not let go until I say. Nurses pressed down around the wound, bracing the body. Find the track. Widen the opening just enough. Do not pull blind. You've seen this before. Angle matches the rib curve. Expect a major bleeder on the exit track. Be ready, he said to himself again. He cut away charred tissue, the blade sliding through the blackened skin. More blood welled up. A nurse pressed fresh gauze into his hand without being asked. Clamps ready, he said. Pressure pads. Keep the pole still. Metal glinted beneath the gore. The rail had missed bone by a miracle. His internal dialogue again whispered, Good, less obstruction. But that angle, it tore something deeper. You'll see it the moment the metal moves. On my count, he said, tightening his grip on the pole. Withdraw along the entry path. No deviation. He breathed. Once. Twice. 1, 2... Now, he eased the pole backwards. The metal scraped wetly as it slid free of muscle. A sudden gush of blood spilled over his hands. There it is, he muttered. Clamp, clamp, now. A nurse rushed the instrument into place. He caught the spurting vessel, pinched it shut, tied it off. He again addressed the nurses as well as himself. One down. There will be more. Move quickly. Keep the field clear. He reached deeper, fingers searching for the second tear. Found it. Searched it in 3 quick pulls. Another bleeder opened farther inside. He clamped and tied. Wipe that, he said, and a towel cleared his view. More light. The lantern shifted closer. The intestine showed a clean perforation, small but fatal if ignored. To himself again. Simple tear. You can close that. 2 layers. Stay focused. He stitched the bowel. Methodical. Automatic. His hands moving faster than his thoughts. Warm saline washed the cavity. Fragments of debris floated up. He removed each with care. Pack it, he instructed, and nurses pressed the dressing into place. He closed the muscle wall, then the skin, knotting the last suture with the practiced flick of his wrist. Burns next, someone said. No, dress him. I'm done here. He stepped back, breath sharp in his throat. To himself again, they're stable, pulse weak but present. Move 'em out, next case, keep going. Get this one to recovery, he said. The blur lifted away briefly as the stretcher moved. Boots thudded, more shouting. The blur folded over him again as another body was brought towards the table. It was morning before he had gone to bed, the sun rising in the east as his head hit the pillow. The chaos in the surgery faded into an eerie calm as the last patient was moved into recovery. In all, he had treated 9 people in less than 10 hours, yet he could not remember a single wound that he had patched, a piece of shrapnel he had removed, or even a section of a rail that had been lodged in an abdomen. The blur had kept him focused on the wound at the time, and cleared his memory in time for the next one. If only the blur could help him sleep, he thought to himself. After 10 minutes, mostly thinking of Maggie, he fell into a deep slumber. A week had passed. Patients came and went. Alistair performed in the blur at all times, his focus being on the wound and not the person. It was ingrained in him now. The late November cold was even more biting now as he walked back to his hut in the darkness. He picked up his lantern at the door, lit it, and went inside. A figure sat on the edge of his bed, shadowed in the darkness. Alistair held the lantern out further in an effort to see the figure better. It was Jamie. Jamie, you startled me. What are you doing here? Why are you sitting in the dark? He asked. I was asked to talk to you about something by Major Billinghurst, and I know you. If I approach you with the surgery or even in the triage tent, you'd dismiss it outright, Jamie replied. What's going on? He asked. The patient, the one that was impaled, they survived, Jamie began. That's good to hear, he replied. Turns out they're a hero. There was a captain on the train. He'd been injured with 2 gunshot wounds, one to the shoulder, one to the upper chest. They weren't life-threatening, but he was being taken to a hospital away from the lines. That happens a lot. It's not triage, it's just he needs to recover. I understand, Alistair added. That rail that went into the patient would have gone into him had they not shielded him the second the shell hit and the train derailed. She saved his life. Alistair smiled. That's quick thinking for sure, and quite unselfish. They should be very proud of their actions. Major Billinghurst is presenting them with the military medal tomorrow. It's the highest distinction they give to nurses, Jamie added. Alistair smiled again. Good for them. I'm happy about that. Brave deeds should be recognized and rewarded. The Major would like you to be there, Alistair. Me? Why? Jamie shook his head, like he could not believe he had to explain it. because you saved the life of the person who selflessly almost gave up their life for a captain she didn't even know. Alistair was adamant. I do not meet patients. I need to keep everything separate in my head. I focus on the wound, not the person, and that goes for after the surgery as well. Jamie stood from the bed. I don't think they're asking on this one. Besides, meeting one patient won't change how you work. You must know that. I've never been willing to take that risk. Not here. Not in war. At home, of course, I have to follow up, but out here, once I've taken a leg or removed the pole, then they belong to you and the nurses. You aren't the only surgeon who thinks that way out here, but you should do this. Alistair thought it over for a moment. What time and what tent are they in? He stood just inside the door of the tent, his view blocked by the throes of people in the room. He could see Major Billinghurst's head, but not the patient. This annoyed him, but he knew he was there for the Major and not for himself or even for the patient. He listened intently, though, as the Major started his speech. I wish to welcome everyone here this morning. He paused and glanced around the room. He continued. Last week, ambulance train number 27 was struck by artillery fire. In the ensuing chaos, one person showed incredible bravery. She threw herself on top of an injured man to protect him, and in the process, she was impaled by a piece of metal railing that had come dislodged from the wall of the train. He paused again to let the people in the room talk amongst themselves for just a moment. Many, including Alistair, had not heard the full story before. He continued again. Captain Campbell of the Royal Army had already been injured and was being transferred to a hospital in Paris. Had he not been protected, he most surely would have perished, for the trajectory of that rail that impaled this nurse led straight to his heart. Again, the room erupted into murmurs and light conversation. He let this happen again before he finished. Today, not only do I get to present this military medal to her, but I also get to witness her meeting the man who saved her life, her surgeon. Suddenly, the crowd of people split right in front of him, creating a lane between him and the bed where the nurse lay. He stepped forward and had almost reached the bed before he looked up. She was radiant, her face anchored by a large smile. His breath caught in his throat as he said, Moira. You've been listening to World War I Stories, Tales Beyond the Trenches, where history comes alive through the lives of those who lived it. If this episode moved you, please share it, follow, and leave a rating. Help keep these stories alive. Want to hold these stories in your hand? Explore the books inspired by them, available now on Kindle and in paperback.